Well, welcome everyone to the ATX DAO Podcast. We are excited to welcome our guest today. We have John Goldschmidt with us. John leads business development for Magenta Labs. John, really happy to have you on the show, man. Glad to have you join us.
Yeah, Luke, it's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you as well. And you're coming to us from a place where it is still wintertime. You're in Peru, and I really appreciate you carving out the time to chat with us. But want to kind of start us off by just really digging into Polkadot as a whole. So Magenta Labs, does development for Polkadot and really supports that ecosystem. For folks that are maybe not as familiar with the Polkadot network, maybe just kind of give us the high level overview of kind of what is Polkadot, and kind of what makes it unique compared to certain other networks that are out there.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Glad to. So Polkadot is basically was found, for people who aren't aware, Polkadot was founded by a guy named Gavin Wood, who is one of the co-founders of Ethereum. He actually invented EVM. He was the author of Solidity, programming language. He ended up kind of branching off from Ethereum world in like 2017 because he knew that in the dates, by the way, if I get some of the dates wrong, but this is my rough understanding. I've been in the Polkadot ecosystem for like 4 months now. So I've been studying for a bit longer, but roughly 2017, he kind of started ideating on what was happening in Ethereum and in the project he was working on, and realized that there was not, the scalability that was necessary for mass adoption just using Ethereum, the L1. Ultimately, as we know, Ethereum ended up going down this trail of, modular frameworks and layer, rollups and all that kind of stuff in order to create scalability. But Gavin saw that this was a very much a need and decided to kind of start from scratch and build all that stuff in from the very beginning. So scalability was in mass adoption was kind of the beginning of, or really the foundation of Polkadot. Ultimately, it was created as like a chain of rollups that would, roll up to this relay chain. Ultimately, there was not an ability at the time to build on that, layer one. So you can consider Polkadot as kind of like a layer zero, and then you have these rollups that all follow the same security. Fast forward a little bit, and there's some interesting things that they did also around parachain auctions that might have, there's some controversy around how that affected the go to market and the genesis of the chain, and how, what it did or didn't do in terms of momentum and allowing Ethereum to kind of take the cake and, when it comes to user adoption. So, since that time, a number of things have changed in Polkadot. First of all, the parachain auction, many people might not know that that's been gone for a while. The way that Polkadot is monetized now is not by, charging a premium to those building parachains, but charging for core time. There's something called agile core time that allows users to, or the builders to pay for kind of what they're using in terms of throughput, and the gas is not paid at the contract level, but it's paid, kind of the way that somebody would pay for storage on AWS, that kind of thing. There are a whole bunch of other, developments that are much more conducive to scalability and mass adoption that I'd be happy to get into, but I feel like I'm rambling now, and I want to hand it back to you, in case there are any questions. But long story short is, one of the co-founders of Ethereum branched off, built Polkadot because it is like just foundationally a way to scale and not have to create like these additional layers of, modularity and things that are built on top of it.
You got to tell us why Polkadot was named Polkadot. I mean, this is kind of hilarious. I mean, it goes to like the creative nature of crypto, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, frankly, this is something that I didn't even realize until not too long ago. Polkadot was named after an artist, a Japanese artist named Yayoi Kusama. I don't know if I'm saying that properly. I know the Kusama part, because Kusama is the canary network for Polkadot now. But this artist is a well-known Japanese artist who paints with like a lot of polka dots, has like these polka dot motifs. Are very, very famous in Japan, and a lot of folks know her around the world. But she's one of Gavin's, or maybe I guess Gavin Wood's, favorite artist. And it seemed like an appropriate, kind of homage to the artist, and also also the idea of like the chain being an interconnected, kind of set of dots, an interconnected set of chains that come together and form something that's very cohesive and beautiful. So that's where the name Polkadot came from. And again, the canary network for Polkadot is called Kusama.
Pretty neat
Pretty
kind
cool,
of
right?
factoid. I didn't know that for a long time too, until, I asked about it, and then he was just like, "Yeah, it's based on that." And I was like, "Holy shit, that's kind of crazy."
Yeah,
So just
yeah,
thought
yeah,
we'd share to the greater audience.
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
love that. And so I want to kind of dig a little bit more into kind of the structure of Polkadot as well. So you mentioned like the whole reason it exists is to help with scalability. Obviously, we've kind of seen how Ethereum's tried to do that with the L2s. I think there's some parts of that that have worked out, and some of them have caused new problems of their own. But maybe we can just talk a little bit about how Polkadot solves that a little bit differently than, say, like Ethereum did with the different chains and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key here is that in Ethereum, you have these layer twos that are, of course, providing the scalability that's necessary, but they don't talk to each other. So that was one of if you build something on, Polygon or, Arbitrum, they don't interoperate. And from the very beginning, there was this idea that these chains can be built and have an interoperability that doesn't rely on bridging and doesn't rely on, anything that diminishes the security of the chain and the ecosystem overall. So there was also a parallel innovation called cross consensus mechanism. It's the messaging protocol that Polkadot uses that allows all these chains to operate completely seamlessly and in conjunction with one another and be able to share assets and share, interoperate. And I think that's a huge, I mean, that's very much a factor, and that's a big innovation and difference in that, all of these layer twos can share the same security and also, and talk to one another, and not just exist in their own silos and have to be, mutually exclusive, but can all, you know, benefit from one another, just the way that, in kind of Web 2 internet world, different websites can talk to each other, and different backend technologies all share the same kind of protocol that they can leverage. So that's one thing. And then I think another big piece of that is, is what I mentioned about when it comes to gas, and it comes to how the chain is, operates, and the consensus takes place. There's no, the payment is not done on a transaction level, again, which means that everything can be settled using one token. Everything can be reconciling and be paid for using DOT. You don't have to, when you're executing a transaction, you don't have to guess like, what do I need to have in my wallet? How am I paying this fee? Because everything is uniform. And I think that's another pain point. I think to this day, I don't know anybody who hasn't felt that pain point, and there's still no real solution for it as far as I know. One chain to the other, you kind of have to either be familiar with the chain to know, or familiar with the technology to understand like what you have to have in your wallet to pay for the transaction. But it's not like that in Polkadot. So those are both really important things, I think, for mass adoption, for the type of scalability that can take place if there's like an abstraction of the tech.
Yeah, that's totally a pain point that exists. And to your point, I think sometimes I've made the mistake of bridging USDC into a different chain, and it's like, oh dang, I didn't bridge the gas token as well, so now my USDC is just stuck there. So now I have to get some of the gas tokens somehow, and I can't use the USDC to get it. So you have to get it there another way. So being able to solve that for across the network is definitely a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So. Awesome. So yeah, so that's really good. So let's talk a little bit more about kind of what people are using that tech for. So want to get into, just like, so for folks that kind of need their own chain or that kind of thing, what is the kind of the typical use cases that you're seeing for folks that want their own chain within the Polkadot network?
Yeah. Great question. And another thing that I like crossed through my mind earlier that I didn't hit on, but it's super important in terms of an recent or upcoming innovation in Polkadot. There is something called the Polkadot Hub is being developed. It's supposed to go live by the end of the year. And what that is not technically, but effectively what it is it's like the EVM compatible base layer of Polkadot. So it's like Polkadot is making the layer that effectively like the L1 go live with EVM compatibility. And what that means is, to your question, in the past, it was always, if you want to build on Polkadot, you have to like build your own chain, which might not be which everybody I think knows is like the Polkadot SDK is extremely powerful, but it's not always friendly. You know, you have to be very technically knowledgeable to build. So it's never been easy to just like spin up your own chain. And if you did that, you'd have to like then attract the users. Why does somebody want to build on like a purpose built, like somebody else's chain? Why can't I just deploy? You know, that's always been, I think, like maybe the issue. This like deployability has not been always been the easiest thing. With the Polkadot Hub, that changes the ballgame completely. Builders can deploy their smart contracts, do whatever they want directly on Polkadot. All they have to do is pay for the core time, and they can deploy. So that's a really important innovation. Back to your original question though, why would somebody want to do this? You know, I think the vision is that every chain can have its own like kind of use case. For example, right now we have Peak, which is a DePIN focused, you know, parachain, have all these DePIN projects building with them, and they're known now as the home of DePIN. You know, I think almost universally in like Web3, they're one of the homes of DePIN, but you know, if not universally, at least in Polkadot ecosystem. And then you have Mythical Games is like another parachain in Polkadot that is known as it's a gaming studio. And so if you know, I think it's like a really interesting thing to have, you know, as a builder, as a consumer, to be able to like think of the ecosystem this way. It's the same as we think about the internet. You know, if you're going to go buy something online, the first thing you think about is Amazon. It's kind of like if you're going to build something, you're going to want to deploy a cool game or whatever. First thing you think about is Mythical, or, you know, and you go to Mythos chain and deploy a DePIN. I'm going to go to Peak. So that's how I think about it. I assume that's kind of what the at the time what the thinking was. But I think it's a great way to kind of help people to understand like what's happening here. So anybody now who feels like they can have like a solid enough technology and a good enough use case and a reason to bring people into their chain can deploy a chain. There's launching something also called PDP, which is basically like the 2-click deployment kind of framework in Polkadot. So you can come deploy a chain, you know, as long as you have makes a lot of sense, as long as you have like a framework or like I guess a plan for going to market and attracting the users.
Yeah, I remember like back in the day when we were trying to play around on Polkadot, one of the big kind of impediments for us was the Rust and the ink style contracts. And we were like, oh, this is not like Solidity. So solving that pain point is a huge, huge value add, right? Like, and if you're talking about having native kind of currency that would allow for these parachains that are protocol specific parachains to crosstalk with one currency, that's a huge value add, right? Um, I guess it front loads and creates front loads that have compounding effects of like really having a network and an ecosystem where you can really have the base asset be interoperable with use cases across the space. I agree. I'm excited that you guys are doing that now. I gotta say though, like, you know, I had this conversation with someone today, like more of a TradFi world, we were talking about different chains and their value props, right? Like, what do you think? Because ETH has like what, like 300 billion or something like that in like kind of like TVL and value growth. And it's like, it's wild to see that, right? The question is like, what percentage of that flow do you think from those people and those developers and those builders that are there do you think would leverage this Polkadot capability now? Because now you're just saying that, like, dude, you don't have to learn like a new language. You can deploy the same thing, and we're giving you some added advantages of like not having to think about like as Luke's point, right? It's like, dude, I move my asset to this. Now I need the fucking gas for that chain to deal with this thing, and that's a huge pain in the ass. So, like, who do you think would be the right kind? What do you want to see? Like, where do you see the leverages? Like to be like, yo, you have an asymmetric advantage here with this app.
Yeah, good question. I think, once behavior is embedded, it becomes more difficult, obviously, and that's kind of the story of that we're talking about here, which is like Ethereum versus Polkadot in the early days. So it's hard to say, like, when I feel like a lot of the things, the way that we think about this space actually is very much like zero sum and PvP. Like we need to suck liquidity from one place and put it somewhere else in order to win. No, I don't think that I don't think that's how the industry wins in general.
I agree.
We need to, and I think that's one of the other fortunate things about Polkadot, about Gavin, and like the way that he thought of building is, it's much more of an ethos. I think Ethereum in general, like Ethereum Foundation, has that ethos, but then there's this tribalism beyond, once you get beyond that. And I think that the Polkadot, like I don't know if we definitely want to throw our hats in the ring when it comes to DeFi, when it comes to attracting liquidity and everything. But I also think we're, generally speaking, the Web3 Foundation has its eye on like the bigger prize, and parity is on the bigger prize of how does Web3 win? How does crypto win? Like it's the decentralization is what's important here. So how do we get mass adoption? So I just don't know if that's, I understand the question. I just don't know if it's the right one. I think that, my focus in the Magenta Labs, our focus is on some things that will lead more to like mass adoption instead of just, attracting liquidity and TVL. And those things are important, but I think it's, that will happen automatically if you bring new people in, right? You bring new users into the space. So that's a lot of our focus at Magenta. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a fair response. Sorry, Luke. I just wanted to I asked that question because like I'm very curious about this elastic scaling thing that you guys rolled out, which is super interesting. Uh like it's basically like load management for a chain. It's like, bro, your chain's super fucking busy. Like, don't worry, we'll hook you up. We got another chain over here that'll like basically give you resources. Like that's my dumb Riri version of explaining elastic scaling, right? I could be totally wrong. Correct me, Magenta knowledge god.
Yeah. Yeah. I will not accept that title. No, I think you explained it pretty well. I mean, that's first of all, it's not worth like trying to get super technical on a lot of these things because there are a lot of gigabrains working on it. And I like, it's better. It just conceptually though, what you said makes sense. And that's the way I would put it. To give you a couple things. First of all, there was something called the spamming that was done on Kusama, like the end of last year, I believe, maybe it was early this year, where they did a live test of Polkadot of Kusama, but did a live test where they just like spam the network with transactions, like as many as possible, in order to see like what's the max throughput they could realize, like how much activity could the chain handle, and it came out to be like 147,000 TPS. Now that wasn't the key here is that was like across all the cores, then that's the thing that Polkadot can do is when there's, if you have the cores at your disposal, you can start borrowing, you can like use all of them if you need to, right? That's really what the idea around core time is. If I have, I think Peak, for example, they have access to 8 cores. They pay for it, but they have access to 8 cores, which is like a lot of throughput. I don't know what the exact number is that they could potentially do, but but the point is that I can start out with a half a core, and if like my activity or I need more and I need more throughput, I can add one to it, and I can keep scaling. And I might not be using all of it, but if I need it, it's there. So that's kind of, I think, that's how I think about it. But it's something that doesn't really, it's a unique aspect to the Polkadot framework for sure.
Yeah, I asked that because, like, if you're really thinking about load management, right? There's like some applications. So all applications go through this like sine wave style vibe of things, right? You're hot, you're not, you're kind of like, you're popping, you don't know, right? And then you have to kind of like be like, yo, I need to figure all this shit out, which is hopefully you have a great fucking back end team to deal with all that shit, right? It's kind of like, it's like you turn on the switch and you could go rock it up and then you could be at that level, or it could be like a step function. It just goes up and you have to build up every single time. But mostly I've seen it's a sine wave. and you can narrow this bandwidth down by predictive analysis, but generally, like there's certain apps that fall into that type of category, which is why, I asked that Ethereum question because like there are certain like DeFi, there are certain DeFi products like, Hyperliquid has its own chain because they were like, dude, we are getting so much volume. We want to have our own metrics. We want to do everything that's there. They can do a lot more throughput if we go down to the base layer. Right. So I wonder if like when you thought about the whole EVM thing, you're like, dude, we are looking for these specific types of DeFi apps. Or it's like, hey, we're looking for gaming because like we know that there's going to be a lot of like kind of instances and event changes that are going to be happening here. So it maximizes this. So this elastic scaling approach is like, yo, we're building it because like what Visa has like what 50 to 60,000 TPS is like the limit. I could be completely wrong. Someone fact check me on that. The intern hopefully fact check me on that. If not, just bleep out this whole segment. But like, if you're saying you're doing 135K with like 8 nodes and that's like testing it and you guys are expanding it even more, that's like saying, holy shit, that's like a Visa level kind of thing or like a huge gaming level platform coming on here running a lot of shit, which is kind of crazy to think about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I think if you look at some of the like Polkadot socials, I was going to try and look them up right now and shoot them over to you. But if you look at it, you'll see visuals of some of these things with like where Polkadot is like multiples, just like not even close in terms of you know throughput and some of the other metrics. Yeah, to your point, I mean that you might look at that and say, yeah, it includes all these cores, but the point is that it's because of elastic scaling, it's like it's available and it's available to anybody. It's just it's the way it's conceived. It's more of like a Web 2 type framework where you have it. You just need to, if you pay for it, you can basically scale as much as you want.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I bet that there's a lot of like the first thing that I think my Riri side of my brain says that like, yo, gaming, but the somewhat small one neuron of a grown up in my brain is saying, hey, payments and like, hey, grown up kind of instrumentation, which is kind of cool to think about that it can adapt here. But yeah.
Is that the left curve, right curve of your brain?
Mostly it's just all gray matter in my brain, and then there's one neuron just doing all the work, literally.
Yeah.
Hence, it's always functioning at diminished capacity.
Yeah. It sounds like the left curve, man. That's all you need. Don't overthink it.
Yeah. No, I love that. So let's talk a little bit more about kind of the ecosystem as a whole. And we can kind of take them in two different parts, but definitely want to get a sense of kind of what the Polkadot ecosystem has going on there. And then also just from a community perspective, just kind of what are some of the things that you're seeing in terms of trends or things that folks are really interested in right now, being built on Polkadot, community culture, any of those kinds of things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, in terms of what's being built, I think first I'll go back to Mythical. That's a great example of mass adoption and also the way that mass adoption needs to happen. If you go if you go into the App Store right now and you download NFL Rivals or FIFA Rivals, they're two popular casual mobile games. I play FIFA all the time. There's a lot of people who I know who play that on a regular basis. Fun game, but the point is you have no idea that it's built on blockchain. When you download the app, when you spin up an account, you get a wallet. You have an account, but it's a wallet. It's a wallet on Polkadot on the Mythos blockchain. And when you earn assets, or you go in the store and you buy assets for your team, which a lot of people do, you're buying NFTs and you're storing them in your wallet. So like people don't even know this stuff, and that's the way that this needs to happen. Like nobody wants to know that they're using blockchain. Just like when you go to a website, you don't care if it's on Azure or on AWS. You don't care where it's stored. You don't even want to know those. You don't even want to know about those companies, right? So that's how crypto needs to be in order for adoption to really take place. So I think that's Mythical is a great example of that, and I think similarly with Peak, like they're doing the DePIN thing and they're building that they have applications and they have use cases that are leveraging blockchain but the blockchain piece is like completely abstracted, right? So I think that's that's an important thing, and that's like one of the one of the keys, I guess, the thing that we're after, when it comes to, what was the second piece? There was another part of your question I was going to go into. Great point is, I think, Polkadot has a massive treasury on chain. There's an open governance process where people can come in and, one dot is one vote. So you can come in there and you can actually make decisions. Now, of course, there are whales and there are DAOs and stuff that help make these decisions. But the point is that there's a very open and transparent process, not only with the open governance, but with bounties. So if you had like an idea for something that Polkadot should do, like, it's fully possible that you can just make it happen if you can gain support of the community and you can get enough people behind it. That's pretty unique pretty unique. I know there are a few other ecosystems that have this type of thing, but I think Polkadot's the largest one and the most active out there. I'll say that something, so there definitely is like a very collaborative culture and like this DAO based culture. And I think one really interesting thing that's coming up here in the fall, there's an AI governance platform that the Nouns DAO created. So it's called GovernNoun. They're doing this in Nouns, and it's a way that Nouns holders can delegate votes for the community into this AI bot that then has trained itself on like a lot of the on certain not trained itself, or they've trained on like historical votes and chatter and all that kind of stuff. And you can lobby this agent, and you can also don't just get feedback from it via like as an LLM, but you can lobby it and it will cast votes based on its training and then the lobbying from the community. There's a program called Decentralized Voices that has just accepted Nouns into the Polkadot community. And as part of that, they'll be deploying a collection of Nouns into Polkadot, which is a pretty cool thing. It's like this, through the governance, through like this mutual love and understanding of governance, form this relationship, and then also going to be launching like another, like in the community, a really recognizable NFT onto Polkadot Hub when it goes live. And so I think this type of community thing is really also a core piece of Polkadot, and we're excited to be attracting more Ethereum based communities and projects via the Polkadot Hub as it launches.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about like the collab opportunities that occur from it, because it's like these parachains and can like fund and vote on these various creative projects through this mechanism, which is kind of like the whole ethos that, like, to your earlier point, it's like, bro, it's kind of like fish in water. You shouldn't see the fucking water or feel the water, right? And it's like now it's just like you look at every single one of these chains of these ecosystems, and the projects like proliferate across these spaces, and they can all interact, which is kind of cool, man. That's I'm excited for now.
Yeah. I think there's like a true a desire and ability to collaborate in Polkadot more so than, I don't know, other ecosystems I'm familiar with. Just because everybody is so kind of ethos driven and a little bit of degen, but more ethos, and like decentralization is way more important than just than yield farming per se. It's like, how do we create a better way of doing things that trumps like I guess like the opportunism that tends to exist in like these other tribes. Yeah.
No, I love that. And I think that aligns really closely to like kind of ATX DAO's mission as well. So like we're really focused on, crypto adoption, that kind of thing. And we're a very multi-chain organization. Like, I do a lot of stuff on Avalanche, Ash works on Doge. We have folks that are building on Polygon, Polkadot, Base, everywhere else. And so I think just the way that we can kind of push that ethos forward, I think is super important. So cool to know that that's part of kind of what y'all focus on within Polkadot and within the Magenta Labs as well.
Yeah. And there's just another like kind of prime example from Polkadot is like the substrate, Polkadot, the SDK, and like this substrate that's like basically out there in open source, and like a lot of projects are choosing to use it because it's such good tech. And this isn't something that Polkadot or like Gavin or the foundation has ever been protective of. They just want there to be, they believe that this is like the best way of doing it, and they want people to use it because it will ultimately benefit the industry and the the ethos that we have. So people might not know that, for example, Cardano's Midnight project is built on Substrate. So is what's the I'm blanking, AI. I don't know. I'll come up with it.
No, wait,
No, it'll
no,
pop in my head as soon as we start talking about something else. I just blanked. Anybody who's listening is probably like, you idiot. How can you not remember it? BitTensor. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
BitTensor
Cool.
is Substrate. Yeah. So yeah, there are a number of really big projects, prominent ones that are built on Substrate.
That's dope.
That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I wanted to dig. You mentioned a little bit before, just like adoption in general. Actually, we just did, well, at the time of recording a week ago, an episode on like crypto adoption in general, that kind of thing. And I definitely agree with you. Like in terms of like the abstraction, I think is going to be key to it. So definitely want to check out the FIFA game that you mentioned. I'm personally still waiting to find out what blockchain is behind the Pokemon trading card game. I don't know if y'all played that at all, but it's very addicting. I've collected 4,000 of Pokemon cards on it. But it's like when you play the game, it's like, okay, this is clearly a blockchain project. These are clearly NFTs, but I haven't found anything to confirm it. But I think that's going to be, that kind of thing is key. What other things are you thinking about in terms of widespread adoption, whether it's from the consumer side, from the institutional side? Like what else are you seeing that is either driving that or needs to happen to drive it?
Well, I I've had a number of conversations recently with people that are not in the crypto world, that are, friends, family, whoever, but they've heard of stable coins and they just don't know what it is. Ask me questions, what is exactly? And I said, I can pretty much guarantee you that the next 9 months, you're going to be using stable coins. It's, or at least you'll know enough about them that you won't have to be asking questions anymore because it's going to become part of your life. Or at least a normal thing, So I think that's a huge narrative. I mean, not just on like an institutional or trading use cases, but for consumers. So we're working on something right now, and it's still pretty early stages, but it really could have a huge effect in proliferating stable coins and getting most people comfortable, or at least understanding where they are and how they can use them. So I think that's something, these kind of like open finance consumer type use cases that are ultimately going to involve stable coins. And I think that crosses over to a lot of the other things that we've been building in this space, like loyalty, and just DePIN and machine economies and like how people can like monetize their physical assets. So it's kind of an overplayed clip about like stable coins or the killer app. I think that oversimplifies it because it's not just it's not an app, it's not like a killer app, but it is the thing that's going to connect all the dots in a way, and I think that's going to happen very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely is. So kind of to that point, so earlier today, I had lunch at like a local pub that was down the street from where I'm at, and there was a man. He probably was in his 70s, maybe early 80s, literally talking about stablecoins with somebody else at a table next to me. And he was talking about, it was USDC that he was talking about in particular. And I heard it. It was just like he was sitting behind me. I was like, who's talking about this behind me? And I was like,
He
wow,
better
like
not be talking about USDT.
right. No,
Can't do that in the US.
right. So yeah, so I just thought that was cool that it's like, okay, like this is becoming more mainstream. It's not just, as small of a subset of folks talking about this. It's getting out there. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Are you guys thinking about a little bit of alpha? Just quick question, like, with if you guys are doing this, the compatibility, obviously USDC, USDT, DAI, all that stuff is now extensible, right? With the interoperability that's there. The question is, are you guys cooking on something like your own like your your dodo dollar, like, like something like a secret project that you guys are doing yourself? I'm just curious. Or have
The
blessed
Polka
the
dollar.
hands at Mighty. Yeah, the Polka dollar.
Yeah, the Polka dollar. I mean, first of all, I can say that I mean, this is public. Gavin said something about it a few weeks ago. He made a comment. Gavin's a builder. He wants, he wants to like advance technology. I don't know what's real and what's kind of like trying to like push the envelope a little bit and push the thinking from within. So I can't say. I do know that there was a comment made recently, but I don't have any specific knowledge of like a project along those lines.
Like you could call it wood.
That's all I can
You
say.
could buy actual wood, timber, and then you can forego those profits and wood is your stable coin. That would be hilarious.
There's a meme coin called Wood on Polkadot. It's WUD. Yeah.
Okay,
So
all right, okay.
maybe that, wouldn't it be great if that just, if there was like all of a sudden there started being like a reserve, like some kind of I don't know, reserve assets, and wood got pegged to the dollar.
I mean, crazier things have happened, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So we'd love to kind of dig in a little bit. So we talked about a lot about the network and that type of thing. We'd love to know a little bit more about kind of the work that you do in business development. Just maybe kind of share the work that you do, and then would love to get a little insight into kind of how you got into this space as well, kind of your journey into crypto, or the kind of work that you're doing, but also what you're doing today.
Sure. So I'm starting with, today. I mean, so Magenta Labs was spun up about a year ago. Polkadot, taking maybe a step back, Polkadot went through this kind of reorganization a few years ago, where the Parity Labs was effectively dismantled a bit so that it would only focus on like core development and strategic development initiatives. Parity was like the operating unit that was doing everything business related for Polkadot until a couple of years ago. A lot of the marketing and BD and growth initiatives and ended up just going towards like ambassadors and individuals, extremely decentralized. There are a lot of challenges, as you can imagine, to doing things that way. And I frankly don't know if it was meant to be like a solution or if it was just like something that happened in the interim. But last year, long story short, the foundation started spinning up in one way or another these operating units that would focus on growth, these growth initiatives and marketing and other things that are necessary. And Magenta Labs is one of those operating units. So we focus on, we're global. But we're pretty, lean and mean still, but we do focus on pretty much everything but DeFi. So it could be like open finance, consumer type applications, but not pure like Web3 DeFi. So that means like it could be entertainment, meaning music, sports, gaming to some degree, could be DePIN, AI. And we are, kind of, because I'm based in the US and it's a big narrative, like looking at like institutional kind of TradFi type use cases. But that's a little bit of background on Magenta, because I'm the only one in the US right now. It's everything from, I'm thinking about everything from grassroots, whether it's like engaging with universities or events, to more strategic partnerships and relationships that would be driving adoption. So it could be with like a sports league or with with some kind of rights holder, and or with could be with a financial institution. But the point is, I think about it as like you have your grassroots on one side, all the way on one end, and you have like your enterprise institution on the other that's like driving the mass adoption. And I'm pretty much focusing on both ends and everything in between right now. To give you like, I guess, a little more on my background, I first started dipping my toe in. I think like a lot of people, I have the unfortunate story of, like 2012, 2013, 20, whatever. Somebody being like, hey, you should buy Bitcoin. And me being like, I don't want to, I don't want to throw away a couple $100 that I could use to go buy like beers tonight or something, and, when Bitcoin was a couple $100. But anyway, I started dabbling in like 2017, did some early ICO stuff. That was more opportunistic. I was a co-founder at the time of another like Web2 startup. Had spent like about 10 years in like the Web2 startup space. First in like, I got my career started in TradFi and like investment banking, got into like startups and fintech, did some stuff with like data around human resource data for like big organizations and like the startup world. I was doing that in 2017. So I was dabbling in crypto, but it was a little bit of like a distraction, but I really liked it. But I was like, I can't just bail on this startup. So I need to focus and put it off to the side again until like 2020 when like DeFi and DAOs really caught my attention. And I had a little more time on my hands. So that's when I really went down the rabbit trail. And it was much more like ethos driven instead of just like, dabbling and trying to take advantage of some opportunities. And that's when I think DAO, like when I think about crypto and like blockchain, the things that are promised to revolutionize the world are of course like the financial side of things, financial freedom and sovereignty of, self-sovereignty. But part of that, which I think of as a little bit separate, but it's related, but separate, is like governance, and that's DAOs. And we haven't really reached the full promise there. But the point is that, the world has always been governed by money, because the only way we have of governing one another is like through legal systems, which is ultimately run by money, and free markets, which is arguably better, but also obviously determined by how much money you have. I think what I realized is when I was looking at DAOs is like, in this space, it doesn't matter what you start with, doesn't matter where you're born, doesn't matter, what degree you have. If you bring something to the table, then you can have a say and you can participate and you can ultimately like be a part of the community, which you can't say about these other ways of governing. So that really was like what drove me. I learned about this all through like Bankless and Bankless DAO. I was one of the like first people in the room with Bankless DAO, made some like great friends there, or had some good times like really diving in, and one thing led to another. I ended up working at Polygon for a bit, on the enterprise BD side, because I had done a lot of like startup stuff and like enterprise SaaS, and kind of natural fit. Also, by the way, I should mention Crypto Mondays was really like where I got into the DAOs and got into the community early on. And then I ran the Crypto Mondays in New York City for a bit. That was wild. Back in the last cycle bull run, wild. Those were that was like the craziest year of my life. I was kicking people off a rooftop at like 4 a.m. being like, what am I doing here? It's Monday night. And then from there ended up at Outlier Ventures. So got into like the investing side and got to see a lot more of like what's out there. And then recently joined Polkadot. So that's my full rundown.
That's a long adventure to become America's Poker King.
That's right.
If you don't like Magenta Labs like title, I'll give you I will. If you don't mind, let me christen you the America's Poker King. I think that's a good title.
King.
Yeah. You're missing the obvious play too, which is like you should put polka music on Polkadot. Like that's the most obvious play, dude. Come on.
That's genius. I never even thought of that.
Dude, move over the Uncle Klezmer records and move over Frankie Yankovic. Actually, Frankie Yankovic is known as America's Poker King. Don't ask me how I know all this stuff. I have a knack for the most useless knowledge. But like, that's how I was like America's Poker King. Like that should be your title, bro. I
might do that. Maybe that'll be my, at least that can be like my alias.
Yeah, dude, that would be fun.
I'm going to learn to play the accordion. I'm going to learn to play the accordion.
I'm telling you, genius. Man.
We could do. Here. What if we started a robot fight league that was like, it had to be repurposed accordions. Put it on Polkadot, and when they fight, they cause like polka music.
Fight. I like it.
An accordion fight. Isn't that illegal in like 32 states? Accordion on accordion fight leagues.
I don't know if there's any statutes that defines it technically to be legal, but I'm pretty sure there be a vociferous polka and like accordion populace that loves these kinds of things to be like, well, this is kind of very risque. But hey, times are changing.
Yeah. It's 2025.
Exactly. Yeah. But I do think, I mean, if you want to chat about it, I would love to chat about it. But like, dude, this is the most hilarious thing. Like, me and John were hanging out in SF like a little while back. John was like, bro, we should start up a robot fight league. I think it would be pretty good.
I think
it'd be great.
Here's the thing. I think the catch is and like the crypto Web3 component is you don't like all the robots are the same, but you can remotely program it. And in order to program it, you have to stake the token. So you're basically, you're required to be investing in the league and like staking on for a team, like staking tokens for a team to like program the robot. And if you don't, I think, it's not necessarily like a wagering system as much as like investing in the league. And then of course you can have like all the betting, all the wagering in the back on like, the other side. But I think there's something there. Like, it's not like with the robot fight leagues where like you go and you customize your hardware and your robot. This is like, you can change like the moves of the robot, and you can have it like, you can have a robot that just like throws like donkey kicks and like that's its move. Right.
I like it.
Or like one that just like bites everything, whatever.
And this is what I'm sorry, like, I just wanted to say, I love this idea because like it also is common with like F1, right? If you think about F1 racing, there is a budget that they can put on each of these cars. So they have to innovate around the engineering and like what they can do. In this case, it forces the builders to be like, you all have unified hardware. Now you have to basically make the Accordion murder bot the best thing based on how its lethality of its moves or its style of its moves is. I think it creates this unique kind of like creativity platform, right? Which is like, and also it doesn't like make one team theoretically be like, oh, I have a million dot now, so I can just level up the shit out of my robot. Like, it doesn't make a difference if you have a million dot, bro. It does. What makes a difference is that your whole fan play of that robot and its moves, which would be cool, man. I think.
Yeah. And it's not like that. I think the typical constraint is like, you'd have to have these bots like somehow in the same place at the same time. Like, you have to customize your robot and then send it somewhere, or travel, or like put in your carry-on. I don't know. Can you take killer robots on your carry-on? I don't know, but you have to do that. The point is, on this, like, these robots are.
I think you can. You can't do it with clear, I hear.
That's right. So everybody has to get TSA pre. There's a big barrier to entry. The beauty of this is like, these robots are going to be in Ash's living room, all of them. So you can all you're doing is like, you can program the robot in Ash's living room. The two robots go at it. Ash, you could be there. I don't know if you want to like take the kids, get them somewhere else, but you can be there when this happens, and everybody else can just watch it online.
Dude, what are you talking about? The whole family's going to get in on the action. We're going to be in the audience, and it's going to be like Bloodsport Kumite style. We're going to be in the backyard. If there's a gold tooth that falls on the mat, we're going to snipe that away and run off with it, dude. But I do, like, jokingly, I suggested that John, who has lovely hair, by the way, who's hiding it with this polka dot hat. He has like almost Indian hair, which is kind of surprising for a white guy. But like, that being said, I was like, bro, you should don the Dana White bald cap and get in there and promote the fights and everything. Outside of America's Poker King, you should be Robot Fight Lord. That would be a great moniker for you to have if you ever do Robot Fight League.
I think you should just shave your head and do it. Be the Indian Dana White.
Dude, if I shave it, and my hair will grow back literally tomorrow. Like, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I have to trim on it. Like, this is like literally a 5 o'clock shadow, and I shaved like 3 hours ago. Like, it's a problem. Yeah.
You shave, lunchtime shave.
Yeah, I need to shave 3 times a day to be presentable these days. It's kind of wild. Yeah.
Man, think of all the time you'd get back if you just did laser on the face.
Yeah, that's true. I should.
There's another app in there somewhere. There's definitely like a DePIN for shaving Ash's face.
Yeah, I don't want to be the prototype for that, but like, I do know there's many Indians who would volunteer for that. Generally it's a problem with the diaspora, but yeah, no, I can't wait to see. I love the fact that you're America's Poker King, and I can't wait for you someday to also go founder mode again and be Robot Fight Lord. It's going to be really exciting.
One day. I just need your living room. That's it. That's all that's holding me back.
Dude, it's like Texas isn't the right place to do this. We need to find some Central American country where it's like 200 degrees constantly. And it's like everyone is just sweating in the stands. And it's like literally blood sport, like it'll be wild.
I mean,
even though
I'll
blood
scope
sport
it out
was in
while I'm
like
down
some
here in
secret
Peru.
place in Asia, I guess. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll scope something out.
Yeah. You're
I'm
down.
sure there's a place.
You're in a place that you can find some good venues.
I think there might be. I mean, I know there are. I just need to focus. This is on me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if this whole
guys.
segment's gonna make it. We can talk Ash, we could probably have a whole show of ideas. If you guys are interested, I'm pitching it right now.
I feel like this
Consider
is
my
now
pitch.
community build startup thing. Like this is going to get crowdsourced into the mindshare, and someone along the ether is going to be like, dude, I'm applying for a grant at Polkadot. We're doing Polka fight bots. The only background music we play is Polka music, and they have to fight to death with Polka playing in the background. You know,
And the robots have to be made of repurposed accordions.
I love it.
Yes. I love it. Yeah, and I think I'm super interested in what y'all were talking about. So Ash told me a little bit about the Robot Fight League before, so I definitely think there's something to it. Maybe you can even like make it. So I know they're going to be like driven by like I think AI or something as well, but you can maybe control them with an accordion as well. So maybe if you hit a certain combination of keys, that's what drives your power up, something like that. You go faster. I'm thinking of like Mario Party games where you're like playing things very quickly, and then it goes that way. So maybe if you're like rapidly playing your accordion, that gives it like an energy burst. I love it.
Yeah. You have like people like sweating, like playing the accordion as fast as they can, trying to. Yeah, and that's great. It's like the modern version of like hitting your AB button, like being the fastest one on the ones and twos.
Dude, I think that you could actually play this. You know, the whole tap. I think that we're like actually live brainstorming this like right now into like this being an actual startup, like where, you know, there's this tap to play kind of mechanism that we kind of all are familiar with, right? Where you can do predictive analysis and stuff like that. Dude, you could put that on like a literal like phone screen and play the accordion that way, and then have it like work in a crowdsourced manner to like basically make the moves or hit the power ups and all this stuff this way. And it affects the actual hardware itself to do that. So there you have a programming team that powers up the power ups. They give you the frequencies or the notes that you have to hit. You need to hit this threshold of this frequency of doing the power ups for it to actually affect it, and then do that killer move, that signature move to the actual battle bot. I think there's something there to this whole schema. Like, dude, we should like collectively do this as a project and pitch it to Magenta Labs now and be like, dude, this is a new moniker. We got a crack team of geniuses that we're going to work on this. We got a Polka specialist. We have the #1 Polka king in all of America, who's going to come along and play all the background music. It's going to be great.
The Americas, North and South America.
Yes, of course. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
We don't want to be.
It's important.
Yeah. There is a demographic of degeneracy that works throughout the hemispheres, though we don't want to like not.
I think accordions are important in this part of the world.
I like it.
Like I'm pretty sure. I got to look this up. I know it. I think it's like salsa music. We could probably incorporate salsa. We could actually. Every region has its own type of music, and then you can have like people coming in from different regions. Like I have to learn to play the banjo if I want to fight in like the southern states. Was that an appropriate thing to say? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's banjo playing going on there.
Yeah, it's more common, right? Yeah, good.
It's like the modern day version of what is it? Guitar Hero, but like it's like Music Hero with just more violence.
Right.
Yeah,
there's something there. We should open up. I'll open up my inbox. It's Polka King Americas at gmail.com. If you have any ideas, please send them over, and we'll make sure we give you our prizes will be paid in polka dollars.
Ooh, I like it.
Which are based on the wood. Yeah.
And a gold accordion, of course. We got to do a gold accordion.
Yes.
Everyone
gold
loves
accordion. Yeah. Somebody's got to make that. That's right, man. Yeah. I guess now I need to go lock down that email address.
Yes. Well, yes. And you'll have a little time, but yeah, definitely want to do that. And also, so if you're listening or watching, please drop in the comments if you want to be involved in Robot Fight Club, aka the Polka battle. Comment in there. We'll make sure you get included. We'll maybe even do a survey on Spotify if you want to share, if you want to be involved in that. So love it.
Amazing.
Awesome, guys. Well, John, this has been great really chatting with you. So folks do want to gonna stay in touch with you. Obviously, the email address you just gave, you're definitely going to get locked down in time. But how else do they stay connected with you, with Magenta Labs, the Polkadot ecosystem, that kind of thing?
Sure. Yeah. For me, my X is John likes underscore. That's the underscore. It's not like John likes underscore. That'd be so confusing if you did like, anyway, John likes underscore.
Yeah.
And then Telegram, John likes no underscore. Email me, john@magentalabs.io or pokakingamericas@gmail.com.
I think the Twitter
miss
handle,
anything?
I don't know if there's a Twitter handle for called America Poka King, but you should grab that handle if I were you.
I'm doing it right now, actually. Shoot,
Dude,
I better.
like,
When does this go
come
live?
on, man.
I need to lock that down.
Just do it right now. Actually, that would be hilarious. We should just include that and then just say John likes _ America Poka King.
Poka King. Poka King Americans. Are we spelling it? Yeah. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
it.
Polka
Okay.
is Polka, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're on it.
So that account does not exist at this time, so you can definitely grab that.
Amazing.
Signals, man. Signals from the universe, bro.
Nobody's had this genius idea yet.
Yeah, this is the problem. Everyone's relegated to doing like ripple brain stuff of like doing institutional things or thinking too like crazy things. And it's like, bro, why don't we just make crypto fun again? And could you imagine that sine wave balancing out with elastic scaling with Robot Fight League on Polkadot? That would be hilarious. Be like, how much TPS can you generate? I don't know. Robot Fight League did like maybe like 300,000 TPS with elastic scaling. So, I guess this shit works.
That's like the proof point. I would love that, actually. That would be amazing. If we were like the next big parachain was like killer accordions fighting in Ash's living room. And everybody in the world.
Why do we keep coming back to my living room? Dude,
Because
you can find so many different venues. Like, why does it have to be my living room?
I want to keep on. I want to make sure that it's clear on this product that where it takes place. It's part of the.
It's like the venue
it's actually
is an
part of the
actual
product.
photo of my living room, and it's like it happens right here, guys.
But I feel
That's
like
right.
that's a cool thing about it. It's like Wayne's World. It has to happen in Wayne's basement. It's like, and I like that being part of the branding. Killer accordions in Ash's living room. Like that's like the official title of it.
It does kind of have like a nice kind of like I will never not forget this band name kind of vibe,
It does.
Yeah, he kind of does. But like, hey, I guess like I'll just set up a group chat and we'll name it the Robot Fight League and then basically, or Killer Accordions in Ash's living room. And then basically I'll put us all in it and then we'll see what happens. If there's a lot of interest in it, we'll just add people from the general community into it. And we'll be like, now it's turned into a huge community. We have traction.
What if we created like a dating app for killer accordions? So if you're watching and I have an accordion and I want like my accordion to meet your accordion, or maybe they want to fight, I don't know.
Yeah.
We create an app where like we are like matchmaking these accordions for either proliferation purposes where we can like combine our accordion parts and like make a better accordion, or we can just like fight it out. But either way, it's like an app. You have like this swiping at this function and you can have like AI involved, and we can do this in your living room too.
So I like the Megazord play here that you're going for. It's very Voltron Megazord. I love it. The only thing though, is I'm thinking that's season 2, bro.
Oh yeah, totally.
Season 1 is exactly. Just, accordion maiming all over the place, right? Season 100%. 2 though, right? That's when you bring in the ball cap. I think that we should all take revolving turns around who's wearing that Dana White ball cap. And like, we should literally wear that muscle suit and like, put on the thing and just be like huge, like ogre. And then what we do is season 2, like you said, you could like, let's assume that we have 15 like robot fight accordions, right? And one of them loses. It's like tourney style. You can come back to the thing if you want to merge accordions. And then that means that these teams build that robot together, right? With their disposed parts itself. Like it's got to be the destroyed parts. It's like a Frankenstein accordion vibe. but it's like a mech.
This is
It's
amazing.
it's a Frankenzord, bro.
I think this whole podcast should start with like the last 10 minutes. Like I think
Yes.
this should be the podcast. Like it should just
I'm
be about
definitely
like
thinking that.
accordions and kill. Yeah. I think this should be like the whole podcast. Then be like, oh yeah, what about Polkadot?
I love it. I love it.
But dude, this has been
Awesome,
fun.
guys. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I totally think that this Accordion BattleBots in Ash's living room needs to happen. So we'll do a follow-up episode coming back when talking about how this all started live on the air with this, and it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, John, this has been great, man. Really appreciate you spending the time with us. It's been a lot of fun, and looking forward to seeing this robot battle come to life.
Luke, Ash, thanks so much. It's been so much fun being here, and yeah, really happy to be on anytime. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.